everyone, this is Amanda at Amanda's Booktopia. If you're new here, welcome, and if not, welcome back. And today I'm going to go over my best books of 2025. Technically, I had 21, but we'd be here forever. So I decided to narrow it down a little bit more. I was going to do a top 10. However, there was a couple of others I just could not leave out. So we're going to make this a top 12. So this will be my top 12 books of 2025. I've had a wide variety of genres, really. Actually, I think I had mostly romance. Yeah, mostly romance. A little bit of fantasy. And one thriller. So, there's also a couple of books I don't have physical copies of that are on this list. So we're going to do those first. Since I don't have a physical copy of them, I'm just going to pop pictures up so you guys can see what they look like. Weasley is our king. Raymond. Don't mind him. Anyways, we're going to get into these best books. So we're going to start with the ebooks. I only have 2 of those. So the first one that I read in 2025 was one of my top favorite thrillers of the year, which is Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. I listened to this on audio, and I am so glad that I did. I feel like with Alice Feeney, listening to her books for the most part is better, because in Beautiful Ugly, we have people with accents, which I adored, and on top of that, you really get like the way the descriptions are in this book, the way the narrators did it, made me feel like I was actually there. And then, I don't know what it was about that audio, but that audio really turned everything on its head. Like, it was one of the best audiobooks I have ever listened to. And that's saying a lot. Because I don't really listen to a ton of audiobooks. But the ones that I have, this one is by far my favorite. And if you haven't read Beautiful Ugly yet, we are following this man who lost his wife. She just disappeared one day. And what? It's not like he did anything. She disappeared off the side of the road. Oh. He wasn't there. He didn't know. Like, the last thing he heard from her, she was talking to him in her car. And then somehow they get disconnected. Next thing we know, she is gone. Like, disappeared completely. And so now he's completely alone and he's isolated in this house. He's also an author that he's been trying to write this huge book that he wants published. But at the same time, like, we're following 2 different narrators in this book. And so we're getting stuff from the wife's perspective from way back when, like, leading up to the disappearance. And then we're also in the then timeline with the guy and everything he's been experiencing since she disappeared while he's writing his book. And this was fascinating. The way everything intertwined together was tremendous. And then finding out that, like, the twists at the end took me completely by surprise. And then my favorite part of this audiobook was the very last line. It gave me chills. I absolutely adored this book. Like, I would not read this physically. You really need to go into this listening to the audio. Because that's how you're going to get the biggest effect, I think. So I really recommend reading it on audio if you're going to read it. It was one of my favorite thrillers of all time. Right up there with The Only One Left by Riley Sager. And that's saying a lot. But I adore this book and I think people need to read it. And then the next one that I don't have a physical copy of that I think people really need to read, it's called The Beach Trap by Allie Brady. This is a sister relationship. It kind of gives vibes of The Parent Trap, but with Lindsay Lohan. It's like a similar plot, but not exactly the same. There's even though it's similar, the way that it starts, it dives into this sister relationship that was really the forefront of the story. There is a little bit of a romantic subplot, like with romance, like with the sisters and the relationships they get into, which is a small subplot. However, the main plot is this sister relationship. And I was addicted from the get-go. I could not put it down. If you like The Parent Trap, I really think you would love this book. These two authors, like Allie Brady is two authors. And together, they really made this book so amazing. I even got my bestie Clint to read it. And he, like, absolutely loved it. He was bawling over it. So, I really think more people need to read this book. Like, it started me on this Allie Brady journey that I need to read every single book they've put out. I only have one left. So, I'm hoping to get to that this year. Hopefully this summer, because it's like a summary book. But everything I've read from these authors, absolutely incredible. But The Beach Trap is at the top of the list. Because I love The Parent Trap so much. And then this book just emphasized how great that movie is. But with a small twist. It's not quite the same as the movie. It's a little bit different. But it's very, very similar. And it's like, and there's also HGTV vibes as well, because they're also renovating the home at the same time. So I highly recommend people need to read this book, and let me know once you read it your thoughts, because I need more people to read it and then report back to me, because I just want everyone to be obsessed over this book like I am. And those are the ebooks that I read. Now we're going to get into the physical books. This first one is Till Summer Do Us Part by Megan Quinn. This took me completely by surprise at how much I loved this book. I sat down to read it. A few hours later, I was done with this book. I was obsessed. I could not put it down. I went to go put it down, but I physically could not do so. Like, I literally could not take this out of my hands. I was super in love with this book. So we're following Scotty, who needs a fake husband because she started this new job, and in order to fit into her job, she was pretending that she is married and her marriage is in trouble and needs a therapist. So her boss's husband runs this therapy camp for married couples. So Scotty ropes in, what's his name? Wilder. She ropes in Wilder, who's like her best friend's brother. And with his acting abilities, and they manage to convince the people that she works with that they really are married and their marriage is in trouble. And so they're literally going into therapy just for that. Like this therapy camp. And it's freaking hilarious. But there's also some pretty emotional parts as well. Because when they go into therapy, they're actually talking about their actual lives. Even though they're not actually married. But it sucked me in from the get-go. I was obsessed. I could literally, like I said, I literally could not put this out of my hands in any way, shape, or form. Literally, one time I actually tried to put it down because I was gonna try and sleep, but literally I could not do so. I couldn't even force myself to put it down. I'm like, need to finish, need to finish. And I'm so glad that I did. It is a total new favorite of mine. I have read one other book from this author called The Reunion. Gave it 3 stars. It wasn't bad. I liked it, but I wasn't obsessed and I didn't hate it. I think there's just too much going on in that book. But this one, we're only focused on one couple, and it was absolutely amazing. People need to read this book. And then tell me what you think. And then the next book that is one of my best books of 2025 is Reckless by Elsie Silver. I went on my Chestnut Springs journey in 2025. I am addicted to Elsie Silver's writing. I have loved for the most part, every book I read from her, except for maybe a couple. I mean, the last one in the Chestnut Springs series, I think, was Hopeless. I liked it, but I didn't love it. And then the second book in her Gold Rush Ranch series, I don't know if that was me or the book, but the second book in that series I didn't love. But every other book from her, I absolutely loved. Oh wait, Flawless was a 4-star. So this one and Heartless were both 5 stars, and Off to the Races was a 5-star. But this one had me in a chokehold. I mean, this has a surprise pregnancy in it. And I know a lot of people don't like that trope. However, in this, it completely worked. Because it wasn't really like, you know, going into it, that is a surprise pregnancy. It's not like an actual twist or reveal. We know this going in, like, because it happens pretty much almost right away. But Theo is everything. I am obsessed with him, and I need more of him. I know I still have to read the Rose Hill series. I'm hoping in one of those books I get more Theo, because he's an incredible man, and the way he's like so there for Winter, amazing. I need more of him. In a lot of ways too, he kind of reminded me of Ray. Similar personalities, because Ray's always been there when I needed him, and Theo's always been there for Winter in this book. So in a lot of ways, they kind of remind me of they kind of remind me of the both of them. Like, Theo and Ray are very, very similar. That's probably why I love Theo so much, because he reminded me of Ray. But I was obsessed, and I can't wait to read more Elsie Silver. And then the next one I was completely obsessed with in 2025 was Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage. I think I pretty much gave every book of the series about 5 stars. I think the last book was like a 4.5, rounded up to a 5. But this one is Teddy's story. And I am waiting from the beginning of the series to read Teddy's story. And I'm so glad I did. Teddy and Gus, I absolutely adored. Pretty much for the most part, romance kind of dominated 2025 for me. Because a lot of the romances that I read, for the most part, I have loved. And this one is no different. It says at the top, she thrives in chaos, he prefers routine. The only thing they have in common, how much they hate each other. So I super much, I absolutely love the enemies to lovers aspect in this. And plus, Gus is a single dad. And I am a sucker for single dads, let me tell you. They seem to always make me, gush over them. Every time I read a single dad romance, I just love them. And Teddy and Gus, they are no different. They're incredible together. Absolutely love the story. So, Teddy is basically, his nanny for the most part of this book. And the way they finally get together, I just loved it and adored it. And I hope he come back to the series at some point. I would love for Lila Sage to do a what's it called? Like a spin-off series following the kids from this series. Because that would be amazing. I'd be all over that. So Lila Sage, if you're watching, please give us a spin-off with the kids. Because that would be so, so cool. You definitely need to read the series if you haven't yet, but this one was my favorite in the series. And another romance that took me by storm in 2025 is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. I mean, pretty much everything she's written has been 5 stars for me. I think the Friend Zone I gave 4 stars to, but everything else that I've read from her, outstanding. However, this one was my favorite of hers in 2025. I think I've read the other ones I've read from her, I think in 2024. I read Part of Your World, I read Yours Truly, and Just for the Summer. I think I read all those in 2024, I think. So when this came out, I knew I had to have it. And basically in this one, the main female character, Sam, she has to go home to help her family because her mom's got dementia and like she has to go home to help. But she also meets, before she goes home, she meets Xavier. And they end up in like a long-term, like a long-distance romance while she's helping out at home. But her interactions with Xavier were absolutely hilarious. There were so many scenes in this book where I was laughing out loud. And I couldn't get enough of Xavier. He's probably also one of my favorite book boyfriends of all time. In fact, I think when I first talked about this book, after I read it, I think I compared him to Ray. Because he's another one that reminded me of Ray. Because of how patient he is and how well spoken and how he was just so there for Sam during the hard times. And when she was there for him during his hard times. It reminded me and Ray. So I'm guessing all the romance books that I read and loved basically remind me of Ray. Which is probably a good thing. Because, you know, I love Ray. And we're coming up on an 8-year anniversary.
Hard to believe you dealt with my nonsense for almost 8 years.
Right? But, yeah. Absolutely obsessed with this book. When I saw some of the reviews where people didn't love it, I was kind of surprised. Because I didn't think it was bad at all. In fact, I was the complete opposite. I was like top tier. Like, how can you not love this book? I don't understand. But I cannot wait for The Night We Met, because that comes out in a few months from now. I think the end of March, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm excited for The Night We Met, and hopefully we get to see some of these characters in that as well. So I am very much excited for the next book. And then the next romance that I loved and devoured in 2025, also a very recent read, is The Defender by Anna Huang. I just read this like in the month of December. I think it was like the beginning of December that I read this. I read it on my Kindle for the Back to Kindle readathon. And I just put up a video where I talked about this book. I will tell you again how much I adored this book. Again, Vincent, the main guy in this, another top tier book boyfriend of all time. He's another one who reminded me of Ray. So basically all my favorite romances remind me of Ray. Again. Because like I absolutely adored him and I adored Brooklyn and I completely related to Brooklyn in this book. Everything she went through, I felt big time. And the way Vincent is there for her. Like seriously, everything that I've read and loved in romance is basically me and Ray. It's so weird, right? But I absolutely devoured this. I read this in one sitting. absolutely loved. People need to read. This is the second book in a series, but you can read it as a standalone if you want to. You do not have to go in order. You might see glimpses, though, of the couple from the first book. But absolutely, this was like a top tier read for me. And I think more people need to read it. So if you want to go into this book and not read the first one, you can. And so I think you should. So I highly, highly, highly recommend top tier romance. Absolutely. Alright, now we're going to go into a little bit of a different genre. Oh wait, no, not yet. We have another romance book. So let's talk about that romance first. I almost forgot about. And this is Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan. I also just read this in December and absolutely devoured this one. This is the third book in the Skyland series. I also really, really love the first book in the series, Before I Let Go. I can't remember the name of the second book. What was the second book called again? Now I gotta look. I don't remember the name of the second book. Oh, This Could Be Us. This Could Be Us, I think I gave a 3-star to. However, I was very much looking forward to Hendrix's story. She is my favorite character in this series. And I'm so glad that I read it. It is heartbreaking in the best way. And the romance is spot on. I absolutely adored Maverick. Maverick is someone who, when he wants something, he goes for it. And I love that about him. And then Hendrix has to go home and like help. Like she goes back and forth. Like she has her job, but she also is trying to help out her aunt. Her aunt's taking care of her mom. Her mom's in a hard place with like Alzheimer's, and it's really rough. And so there are some scenes because of the Alzheimer's that's really heartbreaking. And so it's a very emotional read as well. But on top of that, like Maverick knows what it's like because he went through it with his grandpa. So the way that he's there for her during those hard times, I absolutely loved. And I love that we're celebrating, you know, a curvy woman in this one. Because Hendrix is curvy, kind of like I am. So I love seeing that representation with the plus size. I just really adore this book. And I could not get enough. As in the title, Can't Get Enough. But I definitely recommend the series overall. This one being my favorite out of the series. Even though I love the first one, this one's my like favorite out of all three. So if you haven't read the other two and you still want to read this, you definitely can. This can be read as like a standalone. You do not have to read the other two books to read this one. And I absolutely loved it. So I would love to hear your thoughts if you have read this. Alright. That's it for the romance category. Now let's go into contemporary fiction, actually. I have a contemporary fiction before I forget it. Not this one. That one's a different one. Now, here we have The Favorites by Elaine Fargo. I have talked about this so much in 2025. I've been telling so many people to go read this book. Absolutely amazing. If you love reality TV as much as I do, and you like documentary style interviews, kind of like Daisy Jones and the Six, then you definitely need to read this one. I literally just gave Clint this book to read in 2026. Because I think more people need to read it. I even got Ray to read this book with me. He also devoured it and loved it as much as I did. And I love the interview style with the documentary that they have. We're following Kat and Heath, I believe. Yep. And they're ice skaters in the beginning, and then I love books with figure skating in it, but in this one they have something called ice dancing, which is not quite the same, but the way they described ice dancing in this book was just so fascinating. And then all the different twists and turns, like with their relationship and with everybody around them. Stuff happened I did not see coming. And there were so many obstacles in this book, and there's so many like toxic relationships, and like I just devoured this. I read it physically. However, I might want to go back and reread with the audio because I know that what I've heard, the audio is even better. So I will probably reread this with the audio. But I absolutely love this book so much. If you have not yet read it, you definitely should. I mean, yes, the ice dancing is a big part of it. However, it's really the relationships and the characters that really brought it home for me. As much as I like the ice dancing. So if you are fascinated by ice dancing in any way, or if you're interested in like similar format to Daisy Jones, you should definitely check out this one. This was one of my top favorites of 2025, for sure. Alright, now we're going into fantasy. First one is a YA fantasy with Our Infinite Fates by Laura Steven. This was a Fiction Falls book club pick that we had sometime in the spring. I can't remember exactly what month it was. I can't remember. But I picked this up to read, and I think I pretty much devoured it in one go. I don't think I even put it down. I was super connected to the characters. We are following Evelyn. She can remember all of her past lives. And in every single one, she's been murdered before her 18th birthday by Arden, who is linked to her. So every time she comes back to life in a new life, Arden always seems to find her in some way. And they end up meeting over and over and over in each life. It's described as the invisible life of Addie LaRue meets This Is How You Lose a Time War. I've never read How to Lose a Time War, but I have read Addie LaRue. It does give very similar vibes to Addie LaRue. I feel like this is better than Addie LaRue. I gave Addie LaRue 4 stars because of the ending. The ending to Addie LaRue, I was not crazy about. However, this one really brought it home for me. I love historical fiction, but with the fantasy tied in, this really did it well with the past lives. If you like historical fiction in any way, shape, or form, and you like fantasy, you should definitely give this one a go. It is YA. I don't think there's any spice that I can recall. I mean, in YA, usually the most they do is kissing anyway. I know that is in here, but I don't think they do anything more than that. However, I just love how in each life that Evelyn goes through, it's just fascinating. And I didn't even know there was a queer aspect to this as well. Because in one of the lives that she's in, she ends up in a queer relationship. And I just find that really cool. And the history in this book is fascinating. So if you're interested in like historical elements and like past lives and reincarnation, you definitely need to check this one out. I was obsessed from beginning to end. I know a lot of people did not like the ending, but personally, I really enjoyed the ending. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. So a lot of people did not understand the way that it ended, but for me, it was top tier. So if you like any of the things that I mentioned about this book, you should definitely give it a go. I highly recommend. And we have 2 books left in this 12. I think these 2 would be my top 2, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, definitely, I think we will go with... Which one should I go with first? Before we get to our number 1. You know what? We're going to go with this one. Arcana Academy by Elise Kova. I guess this... I couldn't decide between this and my last one. What should take the top spot? Because all these books are amazing. But between this one and my other book that I have left, would have to be my top two. Absolutely. I have been raving to the rooftops ever since I read this book back in July. I read it, I think I borrowed it off of Libby and read it for my Libby vlog that I did. I made it episode 1. Don't know why I made it in episode 1 because I never did an episode 2. But once I read this, I could not get enough. To me, this is Throne of Glass meets Harry Potter. We're basically following Clara, who is put in this prison. She's sentenced to a lifetime in prison for inking tarot cards, which is a rare power reserved for practitioners at this elite academy. And then there's a marriage of convenience where the headmaster of the academy ends up marrying Clara so she could be in this academy and learn tarot magic. And he's getting some benefit out of it as well for this marriage of convenience. And I was obsessed with this tarot card magic system. And in this academy, they have houses just like Harry Potter does, which I thought was so cool. And the way they're learning the magic really felt like Harry Potter vibes to me. And there's this epic scale of fantasy on the outside of the academy of stuff that's happening on the, everything that was happening beyond the walls of this academy totally gave me Throne of Glass vibes because of how, the world building and everything that's going on with this rebellion. And it just really made me feel like it's Throne of Glass meets Harry Potter. Literally. It really actually felt like that. And I have been raving to the rooftops ever since I first read it. And I feel like not enough people really appreciate this. There's one booktuber I watched that said that she did not like this. And I was so sad when she said that. But I have not seen anyone else really talk much about it except for my friend Kaylani, who really enjoyed this one. But I feel like I need more people to read it as well. It's such a good story. I cannot wait for the sequel. I found out the sequel comes out in July of 2026. So as soon as I get my hands on that sequel, I will be reading it because the way this one ended, I'm like, what the heck just happened? I need to find out what's going to happen next. So as soon as I get the sequel in my hands, I will be reading it. Because I need to know things. So this is definitely top tier. People need to read. If you haven't yet, you definitely need to. And then the last book, this is the very last one in this video. This is probably my top read of 2025. A Language of Dragons by S.F. Williamson. I picked this one up on a whim back in February of 2025. I think I borrowed it off of Libby. Yes, I borrowed it off of Libby. And it was just a random borrow. I just happened to see it on there and I'm like, ooh, what's this? And when I found out the description, I'm like, okay, let's give this a shot. And I'm so glad that I did. Because of how random it was, this totally became my whole identity for the year of 2020. I can't talk. For the year of 2025. This literally became everything to me. I mean, we're basically following Vivian. And this takes place in London in 1923. And basically, Vivian ends up starting a war because once her parents and cousin get arrested and her sister goes missing, Vivian is brought to this kind of academy-like place called Bletchley Park, and they need her to be a code breaker and try and help this war so that way that side can win. But if she doesn't do what they want her to do, like they're gonna kill her whole family. So she has to decipher this dragon language as she's there in order to like save her family. She has to do what they ask her to do, decipher this language that the dragons are saying. And while she's there, she ends up meeting Atlas. And I also adore Atlas because there's a bit of a romance between Vivian and Atlas, and I became obsessed with this book. Like, this story meant everything to me. It was everything I wanted that I did not know I needed in this book. It has that romance, it has that fancy aspect that I love, the historical, also part of the historical aspect that I also really love as well. So pretty much every single thing you could think of that like I love put together in one book. And I was addicted from beginning to end. And the way this ended, I cried. Literally, I cried at the end. And now I need to know what's going to happen. And the sequel comes out, from when I'm filming this, the sequel comes out in 5 days. And yes, I did pre-order the sequel. It should be here on Tuesday. Because as soon as that book hits my hands, I don't care what I have in my TBR. It's the first thing I'm going to be reading as soon as it hits my hands. Like, I am that much obsessed with this world and the characters and the story. Like, it just... I don't know what it was about this. It made me fall in love with it so much. But I've been shouting to the rooftops all throughout 2025 telling people they need to read this book. I can't remember if I got Ray to read it or not. Actually, I think Ray did read it, and he also really loved it. I'm pretty sure he did. And now I'm telling other people, everyone who is watching, if you've gotten this far into the video and you know how much I'm raving about this, if any book in this video, no matter what book, like, I don't care about the other books in this video as much as I care about this one. I mean, I loved every book I've talked about, but this one, my all-time favorite of 2025. So if you take anything from this video, this should be the one that you should reach for first. Because I need to find out people's reactions. Especially to that ending. Like, what the heck was that ending? Like, I am obsessed. I can't wait to have the sequel in my hands. I cannot wait to see what happens. Like, seriously, this whole world is everything. This completely took over my life since February of 2025. And every time people ask for a recommendation, this is the first that I recommend. Before anything else. Like, this was absolutely outstanding. I can't put it into words why this book was so great. It's hard, like, I can tell you, like, I can keep saying how great it is. I just can't put it into words, like, and what else I could possibly say as to tell you how amazing this is. So, if anything, if you can only pick one book from this list that you should read, it should be this one. If you like historical fiction, and you like fantasy, and you like romance, please give this a go. Because I promise you, you will not regret it. And that is my best book of 2025. That is all the books I have for this video. Have you read any of these? I would love to hear your thoughts. If you got this far into the video and you don't feel like being chatty, why don't you leave me a dragon emoji for A Language of Dragons? Because of how amazing that book is. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you loved this video. If you did, make sure you give me a huge thumbs up. If you want to see more bookish content from me, make sure you smash the subscribe button down below. And I'll see you all in the next one.